Sometimes I think fitness can get a little complex, so I wanted to create one master bodyweight routine that anyone should be able to do in just 5 minutes. I wanted it to be doable for the average person without the need for any equipment or even much space at all. I can actually perform this in my van, so I think anyone can do this at home. I'm going to guide you through every step, so pay close attention to the cues I give you, especially if you think it's too easy. And if you find the movements too hard, hang out to the end of the video where I show you how you can find the regressions for these movements so you can make this work for you. Okay, let's begin. So we're going to start in this partial kneeling position with your toes extended. That means they're folded underneath if you can. While you're here, I want you to take 5 breaths in through the nose and aim to slow down the exhale down to about 8 seconds on the way out. So take 4 seconds to breathe in through your nose and take 8 seconds to breathe that long exhale out. We'll take 3 more breaths here and then we can relax those feet. But if you're really struggling in this position, that's an indication that we've got something happening in the feet there that we need to work on. Okay, now we can flip those toes and start loosening up that tight back and shoulders with some kneeling Ys. So start with your arms above your head in the shape of a Y, keeping your elbows dead straight and your thumbs pointing as far back behind you as you possibly can. Now I want you to pretend you're doing the slowest pull-up in the world. Keep your hips where they are, but bend your elbows slowly into the shape of a W, all the while keeping those fists as far back behind you as you can. One cue I like to give here is to pretend you've got a really heavy barbell on your back and you're just trying to press it up above your head as slowly as possible, and then repeat with that really slow pull-up as your fists come behind you. Now, while you've been focusing on your shoulders, you may have lost all the tension in your core and you've ended up with this curve in your lower back. So make sure you tuck the ribs in, try and engage your abs and keep them there whilst you're doing the movement with your arms overhead. It's not easy, but it's a great place to start addressing any shoulder and back pain you might have. We're going to continue to keep opening up those shoulders in this next move while also working on those tight hamstrings and calves, and we're going to do that in the down dog press. So we can move directly into this by lifting the knees off the floor, placing your weight fairly evenly between your feet and your hands, and then pressing the chest towards the knees as far as you can as you lift the hips up towards the sky. We'll perform 5 reps here with bent knees initially, really focusing on the stretch in the chest and the shoulders. Then we'll do another 5 reps focusing more on the calves and the hamstrings, and we'll do that by aiming to straighten the knees there as much as you can. Now, most of you are going to struggle with at least one of these movements, so the best thing in that case is to do this move with your hands elevated on a step or a box, and that is going to make things a lot more doable, meaning you can still make progress and really dial into your body and focus on what you're feeling. So you can come up into a standing position, or you can try and slide into the Hindu squat like I am. I love the Hindu squat for its amazing ability to strengthen the feet and the knees simultaneously, and because we take the ankle mobility out of the equation, it allows us to get full bend in the knee. Start by standing on your tippy toes and just gradually bending your knees and lowering down into that bottom position. If you have serious knee issues, the best way to regress this is with a chair either side of you to reduce the load on your knees. Now come all the way down until your butt reaches your heels, then press your toes into the floor, press away up and out of the squat into a standing position. We'll repeat this for 4 more reps. In this short 5-minute routine, we're just doing 5 reps here, but you can build up to doing as many as 100 or more. As a hiker who's had some serious knee issues, I can tell you that this is one of the best ways to build strong knees, and it's one of the key exercises in my Mountain Proof Knees program. So that brings us to our final move in this routine, which is the dead bug. This is our only real core specific exercise in this routine, so let's make it count by lowering down really slowly into the position with as much control as possible. Now, some people might find it uncomfortable to do this movement without a mat, but I encourage you to really scoop your hips and keep your lower back as flat as you possibly can in this movement, and it's going to make it a little bit more comfortable on the floor without a mat. Our aim here is to control the position of your ribs so that they stay locked down even as you move your arms up overhead. And if you can't keep the ribs locked down, you're probably a little bit tight in the shoulders, so just reduce the amount that you're reaching overhead. You don't have to go all the way to the floor. And the same goes with the legs. You can reduce that as much as you need to, because the main focus of this movement is keeping that control in the ribs and locking the lower back down onto the floor. Now you'll see we're moving opposite limbs here, so left arm with the right leg and vice versa, but feel free to experiment here. All of the variations that you can think of are great as long as you're still controlling your ribs. So we've done 5 reps each way of our dead bug. That's it for this 5-minute routine for now. Now we're going to talk about how to integrate some of this into something that you can be truly consistent with. Okay, there's a couple of things that I want to get across here. Firstly, I want you to value consistency over intensity. Consistency is far more important than intensity when it comes to being healthy, strong, and injury-free for the long term. Like if you can be consistent with this routine 5 or 6 days a week, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, you're going to be way better off than the person who goes all out for a few sessions and then runs out of motivation or gets injured. The second thing that I want to get across here is complexity. You may have noticed that even without doing more than 5 reps or without lifting any weights, these movements are quite challenging. And that's because we're moving into a full range of motion with all these key joints, the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip, and the shoulder, and we're challenging them in different ways that you're probably not used to. Now, we're all told that we need regular daily movement such as walking. We've all heard that, but we also need some complexity. Without movement complexity, we lose circulation, we lose range of motion, and soon enough doing something as going downstairs becomes too challenging for the joint, particularly the knee. And I think that it's great that some doctors are now actually starting to prescribe hiking in nature as a treatment for physical and mental wellness. But 85% of us will experience some kind of foot, knee, hip, or ankle injury at some stage in our lives. And unfortunately, taking a daily walk won't prevent that. If it did, we'd see a lot less injuries. So here's what I encourage you to do to remedy that. Do this routine, 5 minutes a day for 5 days in a row, and see how you feel. Now, soon enough, you'll need progressions to make these harder, but right now you might actually need regressions to make these easier and safer for you to do without hurting yourself day one. Now, those regressions and progressions and way more information can be found on my new app. You can download it from the App Store or Google Play. Just search for Chase Mountains. I've got a free 5-day challenge where we really dive into each of these positions in depth, as well as a whole bunch of other extra free information about how to hike, move, and breathe. Thanks for watching. I wish you all the best in health and happiness. I'll see you on the summit.